Welcome to another edition of Real Talk. Here's your host, relationship specialist, Lori Davis.
Hi, I'm Lori Davis. Thank you so much for joining us tonight on Real Talk. I hope that you had a marvelous weekend and that your Monday is off to a good start. I promise the show is going to make your drive home or the end of your day even better. We have a really exciting show for you, so don't go anywhere. I am always excited to be here for you. You know, I have been a relationship specialist for over 28 years, and I've learned so much over those years from my clients as well from my own personal relationships, and I'm passionate about sharing that knowledge, that inspiration, that information with you every week, helping you to create the best relationships you can have. Relationships, granted, they can be tough sometimes. They can cause us a lot of stress. So on this show, we are going to bring you straight talk about real issues that you face in your daily life. Our goal is always to be a blessing to you. So don't go anywhere. You're going to absolutely love the topic we have for you today. It is spicy, it's sexy, and it is just for you. Passion. Passion is a word that I love and I use a lot because we want you to be passionate. We want you to be passionate about life. We want you to be passionate about your relationships. And sometimes when you've been in relationships for a while, that passion kind of goes by the wayside. It's always there in the beginning. But then, you know, friendship grows. We've got kids sometimes we add to the mix. We've got work. We've got stress. And what happens? You kind of realize that you become more friends and less passion. I talk to couples sometimes and, you know, I get to ask them all kinds of personal questions. So I ask them how often they have sex, how much the love is a part of the relationship. Sometimes they kind of look at me and say, well, we save that for special occasions. And I say, no. So today on this show, we're going to talk about how to spice things up a little. Passion's important to your relationship. When you have intimacy and passion in your relationship, it really makes every aspect of your relationship better. There's this thing called oxytocin. It's a wonderful hormone that's released when we are intimate with our partners. It is the bonding hormone, and it really does bond us together so that we tend to be more forgiving with each other. We tend to just see the other person in a different light. So all the aspects, we're more appreciative, more loving, more forgiving. It makes all aspects of our relationship better. And besides, at the end of our day, when we're tired and are stressed, I can't think of a better distraction, a better way to calm down, to exercise, to relax, than to have more intimacy in your relationships. And ladies, this is not just for the guys. Sometimes I talk to women and they think that they need to have sex because of him. No, we're talking about this is for you too. Women spend all day long doing, and we need to relax. We need to quit doing. We need to have pleasure. We need to do things that we enjoy at the end of the day too. So ladies, this is for you too. We're going to talk a lot about how to do that today and some ways, and we have a guest who's going to give us some great ideas. I talk in my book that I have written about helping women to tap into that feminine side of themselves by taking a shower or a hot bath, by listening to some music. One of the things that I suggest they do sometimes is reading. Men are more visual, but for women, reading those romance novels or something that kind of gets us in the mood really helps. So that is my perfect introduction to today's guest. Yvette has written a book called The Society of Secret Pleasures. She lives with her husband and 2 children here in North Carolina. Her life used to consist of corporate America, but 2 years ago she jumped the ship, began her journey to self-awareness and freedom. I love that. Now she spends her days in front of the computer, and if not there, she can be found with her kids at their sporting events, except for today, she's here with us. Yvette has always dreamed of writing. As a teenager, she would write poetry about the things that were going on around her, from relationships to family. She wrote her first book, Society of Secret Pleasures, as a way of showing readers that there is nothing wrong with having an adventurous sex life. There's nothing wrong with a woman going after what she wants. Her fascinating take on erotica is filled with short sexual adventures that allow you to imagine yourself in the place of these characters. Some fun at the end of the day. Get away from the daily grind, right? Imagine yourself doing something maybe you could only do in the book or in your imagination. This society is made up of a group of professional businesswomen who were not afraid to tell of their exploits in this book. Yvette would love to hear from her readers to share their experiences. I'm going to let her tell you how to get in touch with her. But first, we're going to welcome her to the show. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, thank you, Lori, so much for having me.
I met you at a networking event, and when I saw your book and started reading it, I thought this would be absolutely perfect for our readers, for you to be on the show. Why don't you tell them a little bit about how this book came to be, because it's a great story.
Well, the book came about... myself and some other ladies. We were just all out one night talking, drinking, having fun, and one of the young ladies started talking about a gentleman that she met, and she started going into her adventure. And we all listened and we laughed, and we gave our comments and support. And so we all started sharing something. She gave her story, so she said, well, I know somebody else has something. And so we all started sharing our story, and we realized that, that was a nice way for us all to get together and sit down and talk about these stories and laugh. It's a good way to laugh at yourself. So we started doing that, meeting once a month, going to different places, getting together and just sharing those adventures, those secrets, and realizing that there was nothing wrong with it, nothing wrong with us, but it was great to take charge of your sexuality and be sensual, but go after what you want.
Yeah, women forget sometimes how to be sensual. They get so busy in corporate America working. They get so busy with trying to take care of children, cooking dinner, grocery shopping, whatever it is that you do as a part of your life. It is harder for women sometimes to tap into their sensuality. It's harder for them to put all that other stuff that's going on aside. I don't know if you are familiar, there's a book, and I don't remember the exact title of it, but it talks about women's brains being like spaghetti and men's brains being like waffles.
Okay.
Are you familiar with that concept?
Uh-huh.
That men compartmentalize. So whatever it is that they're thinking about, they're all there. They're all in. But women's brains are more like spaghetti. It's all mixed up together. So the end of the day, when, your guy comes along and he's in the mood, he's in that little compartment, that's all he's thinking about is you and sexy things. We're still doing the shopping list that we need to do, or, the PTA meeting, or the job we didn't finish at work. It's harder for women to switch gears and to get into that sensual mode. And so we're going to talk some today about how your book and other things that women can read might be helpful for them to do that.
Okay.
So that was kind of the next question. Let's talk a little bit about how this book and how I call it female erotica, because I think there are books written primarily for women. How does that help women in their role in femininity?
Well, for one, it helps you feel sexy when you dress up and you put on that nice dress and you look at yourself and you feel sexy in that dress and your hair is just perfect and the makeup turns out just right. You feel so feminine, so sexy, and you want somebody to notice that.
Definitely.
And, if it's your partner or your boyfriend or whatever, you want somebody to notice that to make you feel extra special. And so in this book, that's, they're confident about themselves. So they're not shy about how they look. And some of them give you, their measurements or their heights or whatever. But it's them being confident in how they look and how they feel about themselves.
And I'm assuming that all of these friends of yours that were sitting around telling these stories that this book came from were not all runway models. So we're talking real people, right?
Oh, yes.
With real figures, probably a variety of them, who were feeling comfortable, sexy, comfortable in their skin, good about themselves.
Yes, indeed, they were. I mean, they're short, tall, just all. I don't really have runway model friends, just normal people, but women who are your everyday woman, but she likes to feel attractive. She likes to feel sexy, and it's not just at one particular time in the day at night when the husband's in the mood. She wants to feel that way all the time.
Yes. And the reason I brought up the runway model is because most of us are not, and most people aren't. And, even the runway models probably really don't look like that. They're photoshopped. And so this is something that women can read this and they can really feel like, hey, these people aren't any different than I am, and they're comfortable with their sexuality. They're comfortable in their own skin. They're having these adventures, and they're real people.
Yes, they are.
I liked that part about it. All right, so can reading this, can this help our sex lives?
Definitely. I will tell you that I have talked to some women who have read the book, and they've tried some of the stories in there, and they absolutely love it. Their spouses have loved it because it's something different. They stepped outside of the box and were adventurous. And so their husbands were like, wow, where'd you get that from? So they are actually trying that. And the book doesn't give you names.
Right.
So that way you can imagine yourself. So when they are trying this, they're picturing themselves in those positions. And, it's a little mystery there also. So that's what brings that excitement to it.
Yeah, and it's out of the ordinary. It's something maybe that putting yourself in that imagination, even if it's not something that you would try that specific position or that specific place or whatever it is that they're describing in the book, even if you wouldn't do that, it is helping you to tap into feeling sensual, feeling sexy, feeling, like you said, more adventurous. And women do respond more to that than visual. I think that men will look at magazines, men will watch pornography, or men will watch, even shows. They like to see, the women. Not to say that women don't enjoy watching TV or watching a show and seeing, men that look nice as well. But women will tap into that reading more so. They're not as visual oriented.
Yes, instead of looking at the movies, like you said. And the thing about it is just, it's just so sexy about it. It makes them feel so sexy. And like I said, once you read that, you envision it. And I think a lot of women, especially who are working moms in corporate America, you just don't have that time to fantasize about, being, this type of person. But with this, it gives you ideas that you can try. And like you said, you don't have to try every position, every place, but you can try some of it and just kind of branch out. But it gives them ideas to try on their own.
Yes, maybe it gets your mind thinking about, well, if they're doing this, I've always thought that it might be fun to, I don't know, have sex on the beach at night, or to, the first thing that came to my mind, I just got back from a vacation on the beach, so I got beach on the brain. But whatever it is that you're dragging up, that you're saying, you know what, maybe it's something even really, really simple as another room in your house. I mean, it doesn't have to be way out of your comfort zone. Wherever you're at, it's just stepping out a little bit that might help you to feel sexy. I remember when, and so before everybody writes to me and wants to give me all kinds of opinions, I'm not giving you my opinion on 50 Shades of Grey. All I'm saying is that I remember the first time I went out to a mom's night out, and the women were talking about reading that book. Now, whether you like the book or approve of the book, I know there's a lot of controversy about the book and the movie. And so I'm not talking about that part of it. Just talking about the fact that I remember these women talking about this book. I had never heard of it before. It must have been pretty new. And a couple of them were talking about reading it, going to bed after their shower, reading the book, and actually waking their husbands up if they had fallen asleep, because that's how aroused they were from the book. And they said, the husband was like, what's going on? What are you reading? Could you keep reading that? And so I remember thinking to myself, wow, what is it that they're reading that's having that effect? And they had this glow about them. So reading something, whether you liked that particular book or whether it's your book, we're going to tell them about how to get it and all that in a little bit. But that reading it just really put them in a different frame of mind.
Exactly.
And it was good for them. It was good. Their husbands were very pleased. And it was good for their relationships because, again, that same routine over and over sometimes can get a little dull for some people. And sometimes they need something to kind of spice that up just a little bit. So reading this book can definitely improve your sex life.
Definitely.
Definitely. All right. Can women and men relate to the book, or is it only something that we should suggest for women?
Oh, no. I've had some men read the book also, and they enjoyed it because they also want to come up with ways to please their partners. And so with a guy, he's reading this and saying, okay, well, she's trying this and these women are being adventurous, but what does a man need to do? It's not just about a lady being adventurous in the sexual department, but a man also has to go out of his way to please her. So these guys have read this book and thought, okay, I need to try something to spice this up. So my lady isn't the only one who's bringing spice to the bedroom. So it does work both ways.
All right. So the men need to go get the book too. I'm thinking that, they could even read it together if they wanted to, just depending on how they felt about that.
I've had some couples who have read it together and told me it has been very satisfying to sit there because they read it to each other.
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
Yes,
yeah.
And that has turned out to be very satisfying for some people.
Sometimes when I work with clients and they're complaining that sex isn't part of their life very often, and when I speak to the women individually, sometimes they will start to talk about one of the reasons is because they're not really enjoying what's happening in the bedroom. So as you were talking, I was thinking that this book might be something, if the women get it and they enjoy it, letting their husbands read it, it might give them some ideas. He may not know, he may not understand, and some women aren't as comfortable talking to their husband or talking to their guy about what they would enjoy, or they don't want to tell him maybe that they don't enjoy it so much. So this could be a way to let him know, just to sort of put that idea in his mind. These are some things that he could be doing, that he could bring her more pleasure. Because guys, the more pleasure she receives in the bedroom, the more often she's going to think it's a good idea to be there with you. And so, we're not saying that the men aren't trying, but maybe sometimes they need some other ideas too. We do a really good job in our society, I think, of trying to tell people not to have sex and when not to have sex. We don't do a very good job necessarily of telling them, even when we think it's okay to, how to, or, reminding them that it's okay. It's part of us. It's part of our natural orientation. It's good for us. Sexuality is a part of us. But we hear a lot more about not having it sometimes than we do supporting that or supporting healthy sex.
Yes, we do. I think, and as you said, I think that's the problem. A lot of people have heard, oh, no, you shouldn't do it. Oh, stay away from it. And, don't be promiscuous. But it's not really being promiscuous. If you're with your partner, it's just branching out on your sex life. And that's a good thing because as you said, when you have a healthy sex life, your whole outlook on life is different. You're a lot happier. You're just more energetic, and it just everything seems to be a little bit clearer.
It's those hormones. It's those hormones that you had in the beginning of a relationship when you walked around and everything just looked better and seemed better. When we have sex, there are hormones that are released, and they're not only released at that moment, they actually stay with us. So when we're waking up the next day, assuming it's at night, we're waking up the next morning, you're going into work and you're happier. You've still got those hormones. I read a study not long ago that said that men that had more active sex lives made more money at work. So I thought that was an interesting study. So all the guys need to come home and say, honey, would you like me to make more money? But I think it is because when they've got the hormones, so they're feeling good. But for men, it's also very important, that connection, to know that their woman, that their wife wants them in that way, and that she's attracted to him, and that he can please her, makes him feel really good. It makes him, somebody said this one time to me, and I've been quoting it ever since I stole it, makes him feel like Superman. So he's walking around going, yes, she loves me, she wants me, she's happy with me, I'm successful. And so he takes that into work the next day. So he is more successful. He's happier in all areas of his life. And so is she.
Oh, yeah, because he's feeling like he can conquer the world, and she's feeling like, oh, I just sent him out there where he can take on the world.
Yes. And I have this guy who loves me enough that he wants to make me happy, that he thinks I'm beautiful. He still thinks I'm sexy after however many years of marriage. You know, sometimes it could be 25, 30 years of marriage. He still wants me. He still thinks I'm sexy. And he doesn't care that, you know, I've had a couple of children and maybe I don't look like I did when we first met in our 20s. He still thinks, because he doesn't, ladies, you know, if you're happy and you're being passionate and you're sharing that together, he thinks you look wonderful. He's not noticing all those little flaws.
Oh, yeah, because they're not flaws to him.
No.
You're still that, to him, in his eyes, you're still that woman he met 20, 15, 30 years ago. You haven't changed a bit. And
Please say that again, because women don't get that. They don't.
well, yeah, your Ben see you as still that same woman he met 20, 30 years ago. You haven't changed in his eyes. When he's happy, he's feeling like that Superman that you're making him feel like. Everything's perfect to him. And you seem like that high school sweetheart that he fell in love with day one.
Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things that women so crave in their relationships. They want to feel special and important to their guy. They want to feel like they're in high school again and he still wants you. And we forget sometimes about all of that. We can keep that alive in a relationship no matter how long you're together. It just takes some effort, and it takes the idea that you want that. So intimacy and sex, but even the part that leads up to it. So the more kissing, the more hand-holding, the more snuggling, you know, all of that just makes that relationship stronger and bonds us together. And we talk about it, but it really is very, very important.
Oh, yes.
And so the fact that your friends shared their adventures. At some point, maybe we'll get you to tell us just a little tiny bit of one scenario in the book. But the fact that they shared that and that they then allowed you anonymously to publish that and share that with other people so that we can use that is really great. We're going to talk some about the book and relationships, because sometimes people think about reading or watching, whether it's a movie that you're watching or whether it's a book that you're reading, if sex is involved in it, they think that that's going to cause the person to have a wandering eye away from the relationship, that's going to want to take them outside of the relationship. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that's maybe not necessarily true. What do you think about that?
Oh, I believe that it's not true. Just because a person's looking at a movie or reading a book, it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to wander off. It's just, again, you're looking for ways to, you know, spice up that relationship and ways to change it. That's all it is. It's not meaning, they're going to step out at all.
Right. I was talking to a lady that is a sex coach, and we were having a cup of coffee one day, and she said that she explained it this way. She said and she's been married a long time, and she was talking about still having an active sex life and helping couples to, you know, have active sex lives. And she said, it's like if somebody told you that you could only eat chicken for dinner for the rest of your life. And some people would say, but I don't want to just eat chicken. In other words, I don't want to have sex with just one person. Just in case my analogy isn't a good one. And she said, but what you don't realize is that you can make that chicken in so many different ways that you don't have to get bored with that chicken. And so that's what I'm thinking. No, it's not a matter of looking outside the relationship. Actually, if you've got that good bond and you're sharing that time together on a regular basis, your partner is a lot less likely to look outside of the relationship. Exactly,
because they're not going to have time, because your relationship is so great and things are really going good for you that why would they need to look out? You know, you only look out if there's something missing. But if you have a very good, solid sexual relationship, there's no reason to look outside of it.
Right. Women sometimes will become afraid or I think are jealous if they, you know, you read about this sometimes, that they'll find out that their husband's been watching something on the computer, because now it's so much easier than it used to be. You know, I can remember, showing my age, I guess, but if you wanted to watch a movie and you wanted to watch people have sex, you know, you had to go to one of those little stores, you know, that it's kind of embarrassing maybe to go to. Now you just pull up the internet and you can get, you know, I'm blocking it for my kids, trying to make sure they don't see those things when they're little. But so you can easily, but sometimes if a woman finds out that her husband is watching that, she will become very jealous and she'll feel like, well, you're not interested in me. And so then maybe that's a conversation to look at. Why is he doing that? So these are things we can talk about when we get back. We're going to take a break. But one more time, the name of your book is The Society of Secret Pleasures. And when we get back, we'll make sure that we tell everybody how to get it. And we have a lot more to talk about. It's a great book. So don't go anywhere. We're going to take a commercial break and we will be right back. Attention all Florida homebuyers. Are you a first-time homebuyer looking to upgrade or desire to have a Florida vacation home? I can help. At Keller Williams, we find solutions tailored just for you. When you decide to buy or sell in Florida, I can help. Call Lisa Ballinger at 813-205-0202 or visit my website at www.flrealestatesoldbylisa.com for help with all your Florida buying and selling needs.
This hour of music is brought to you by Profiles Video Transfer. At Profiles, we transfer all your videotapes to DVD, audio cassettes to CD, and we also digitize your photos and slides. All work is done on location with state-of-the-art technology. For more information or to set an appointment, call 704-525-9898. Profiles Video Transfer.
We're back with Real Talk on iVibe Radio.
Welcome back. I'm Lori Davis, the host of Real Talk on iVibe Radio. I am so pleased you have joined us today. We are talking to men and women about how to improve their sex lives, how to feel sexy, how to feel sensual. We have a guest with us today who wrote The Society of Secret Pleasures. We're going to get right back to talking more about that book in just a minute. I want to remind you first that I have all kinds of information for you on all sorts of topics on my website. It is LoriAnnDavis.com. That's LORIANN Davis.com. I write a blog every week that you can find on all kinds of relationship topics. I have a book that I just published recently called Unmasking Secrets to Unstoppable Relationships: How to Find, Keep, and Renew Love and Passion in Your Life. It's a guide for women who want to learn how to create the relationship of their dreams, the one they've always wanted. It gives you the tools, the secrets, the tips in really easy to understand language, small, easy things that you can do that probably your mother or your grandmother maybe should have taught you about how to have a great relationship. But nobody really teaches us that. You can find that on my book, on my website. You can send me questions if you want on topics. You can ask me questions. If you're having some issues in your relationship and you really would just like to run it past somebody, I will always do a free 30-minute strategy session with you where we can talk about what's going on and we can see if maybe I can have a program that might be of help. So feel free to contact me. Go to my website, read all the things that I publish. Let me know how I can help you. I want to be a blessing to you. So we are welcoming back our guest, Yvette, who has written this wonderful book called Society of Secret Pleasures. It started with her and some of her friends who decided to sit around at dinner and tell stories about their love lives, and decided after a period of time that maybe other people could get some inspiration from some of the adventures that they were having. So far, we have talked about women having a little bit of a more difficult time sometimes, shutting down the rest of the day and getting in touch with that sensual side. It's just as important for women to get in touch with that as it is for men. Women, I hear a lot of women sometimes saying that they think that they should have sex because it's something they need to do for their guy. And I really want to speak to that. I really want to say that, ladies, we want you to enjoy this just as much as them. We want you to have that downtime, getting in touch with that sensual side of yourself. You're going to be happier. You're going to feel better, just like he is. It's also great for your relationship. It bonds the two of you. It makes your relationship stronger. So those are some of the things we've talked about. We talked about that the book could actually be good for your relationship. So let's pick up there.
Okay.
Let's talk a little bit more about how this book can be good for your relationship. Because before the break, we talked about not looking at it, if someone's reading this, as that they're not satisfied or that they're trying to, that they're going to go off and want to try this with somebody new. This is really for putting you in touch with those sensual feelings so that you explore that sensual side of yourself with your partner.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about how we could utilize this book to help our relationship.
Okay. Well, I mean, as you know, they can use it to, like you said, bring out their sensuality, but also to give them some ideas on how to bring more life to their relationship. It's not necessarily to step outside of it, but just to help them come up with some ideas to add some life to their relationships, because that's what everyone wants. You want to have a healthy relationship. And, you know, if you really love your partner, that's the person you want to do that with.
Yes.
So you don't want to read this book and say, okay, I'm going to go try it with my neighbor. No, you want to look at this and say, I think I want to try this with my husband. And that's what it's about. It's about giving you ideas, but also helping those women feel confident to be the aggressive one. You know, you don't always have to wait for the man to initiate.
Right.
Women, be more than welcome to go out and initiate. Husbands do enjoy that.
They do.
And they do actually, it gives them, you know, some excitement to know that, wow, she's starting it first. She's coming at me. She really wants me. And men love to feel that way, that they don't have to always be the one to initiate sex. They want to know that their wives want to initiate also.
Because what happens is if they initiate and they get turned down, after a while they quit initiating. Mm-hmm. And that's when you end up with people who say, yeah, on special occasions we have sex, you know, on holidays. Or I had a couple tell me one time that pretty much they saved it for vacations. Mm-hmm. And yeah, and you know, and of course their relationship had really deteriorated and mm-hmm. they had really grown apart. And so we don't want that. But so maybe this might give women ideas of how to be a little bit sexier, because sometimes we do lose touch with that. Yes. As relationships go on. Some women, you know, I work with singles as well. And so some of the singles I work with they're trying to attract a partner, and I'm trying to tell them to be a little bit flirty, and they don't know how to do that. Mm-hmm. So we have to work on how to be appropriately flirty. And then, of course, I love it. I wrote a blog about flirting one time, and I said, once you're in a relationship, you can take flirting to a whole nother level because there is no inappropriate in your flirting with the person that you're in this relationship with. Mm-hmm. But women sometimes may have either not known in the very beginning, so they might have been shy. They may have grown up with somebody saying sex is wrong. Well, now you're married, so it's okay. But nobody really told you how to make it fun, how to make it exciting, how to be okay. Or, you know, you're drudging off to work in corporate America with all the stress. You're competing with the men every day. And you come home and you kind of forget to be sexy, or you don't really have the energy. Mm-hmm. Or you're home with the kids, you know, which can be equally as bad. There's, you know, you got applesauce all over your clothes and the Cheerios in your hair. You know, anybody that stayed home with young children. And really sexy. So, you know, while the children are napping or you're on your lunch break, mm-hmm. you know, maybe sneaking this book out from underneath the seat of your car, you know, while you're having lunch might help you to just get back in touch with that part of you that's there. And initiating that, because maybe nobody's initiating in your relationship anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they're so busy working, you know, that people just, like you said, they forget about it. And I guess telling my age a little bit, growing up, you know, back then.
Yeah, we're about that same age, I'm sure.
Then, you know, your parents taught you, oh, you know, the man does this and this is a woman's role. So growing up then, you had that idea of sex was okay. He comes into the room, you lay in the bed.
Right.
Done. And the woman wasn't supposed to do anything. But that is not the case. Women can be the aggressive one, and you can take charge, and you can initiate it. And your husband will appreciate that. He will love that you are taking that first step and showing him that you think he's sexy and you still find him attractive and you want him instead of waiting on him to always come to you. Women don't have to wait for the man to come to them anymore. And in this book, that's what this is showing. These women aren't waiting for men to approach them. they are going after what they want, and they're going at it wherever they happen to want. So it's unorthodox, but they are just happy and they're confident in themselves enough to take charge of their sex lives.
Okay, that's great. All right, so let's talk a little bit about self-awareness for women, because this book might help women as they're reading, because they're not reading, not that there's anything wrong with reading Harlequin romance, and some women really like those. This gives you a little more detail than the Harlequin romance will talk about the act of making love. But your book it's a different level. It's one level up from that. There's more detail in it. There's more, right? She's laughing. But these are real women. These are stories. So unlike Harlequin romance, where we're set in a different time, in a different place, you know, this is modern day women telling their stories. So when you're reading this, you're thinking, wow, this is something real women today, now, these are things that they were doing. So talk to us a little bit about that self-awareness and how that could bring up that self-awareness for women.
Well, I think it helps them. It helps them to really get in touch with their inner selves and their femininity. For instance, one of the stories that a lot of people have told me they like is the first one. It's called The Lingerie Store. And just to give you a little absurd, it's a lingerie store in a nice suburban neighborhood. Lady goes in. The owner of the store is a gentleman. She tries on a lot of items, but then she also asks his opinion. And things just kind of progress to there. So I've had people come up to me and say, well, that wouldn't really happen. But it did. And it was just a chemistry.
Right.
But then also this lady trying on some very sexy lingerie and feeling good about it. So she wanted this man to see this and get a man's opinion of it. So that's the same as if you're at home and you try on that nice piece of lingerie and you ask your husband. You want him to say, wow, you look great. And, you know, not that question of, oh, do you think I look too big in this?
Right.
And so it helps them to see that, you know, these are odd situations, but they are normal situations, and it's showing you can be so feminine and do these things and not be uncomfortable about it.
And I'm thinking about, you know, somebody who's reading this who is married. Obviously, they're not going to go in the lingerie store and try it on for a gentleman there and have sex with someone, you know, more than likely outside of their marriage. And we're not promoting that. But what we are promoting is that it gives you the idea that maybe I could go to the lingerie store, try on some things that I think I look good in, pick out one, pick out two, you know, whatever, come home. And, you know, I'm a big fan when you're married of adding spice to your relationship by texting. And texting has its place. So texting him and say, on my lunch hour, I just went shopping at the lingerie store, you know, fashion show tonight, you know, that's going to add playfulness and fun to your life, to your relationship.
Now, let me give you another scenario to that.
Okay.
Instead of you going on your lunch break and doing that, how about texting your husband, telling him to meet you at the lingerie store?
I knew where you were headed with that. Yes, I like that. I did too.
And
yes.
that way you can try on those things with your husband sitting right there watching you. And then that fashion show can be later on that night.
Yes.
So then that way he goes back to work looking forward to what he's going to get when he gets home.
Yes. So we can see by this example that, and now I'm even thinking I'm thinking other things too. You know, you can take pictures of yourself and send it if he can't meet you. But there's just, the idea is that reading this can really get your mind going and can say, you know what, if this person's having so much fun, they're comfortable with themselves, they're embracing their sexuality, maybe I can do that, and I'll figure out how to do that in a way that I'm comfortable with. So there's a whole continuum here of what you might be comfortable with. But even if it just takes you out of your comfort zone a tiny bit and adds something, you know, being playful in your relationship is really important.
Yes.
You said something wonderful that I loved. The person that you are married to, this person that you're in this relationship, is the one person, hopefully, the one person that you share that special thing with, that you share sex with. You only share that special bond with that one person. So let's really enjoy that. Let's share that. And life can be full of, I don't know, drudgery. Sometimes it can be full of stress. All kinds of things can be on your plate. But why not put that aside for just a little bit at the end of your day? And if you read my book, I encourage you to have some sort of physical contact every day. Now, that doesn't mean that you need to act out, some of your stories in your book every day. We might not have time or energy for that, but we have time for some hand-holding, some snuggling, some kissing. We have time for something, and when you add that to your relationship more often, it leads to more sex. It leads to more things. You have more energy than you thought you did, or you just feel more connected. And so, yes. Sorry, I got off on a tangent there.
Oh, that's okay.
All right. So I guess maybe I just talked a little bit about this. So now it's your turn to talk about it. The importance of passion in our lives. Can you tell that I really like this topic?
Oh, yes. Passion is very important to me. I've been married 27 years. And every day I tell my husband, we make sure we tell each other every day. We love each other. And there's always that slight touch or, that the hand holding or even in just passing. And you just, grab your finger for a minute. That's just special. Those are just little special moments. And a lot of people forget those little things really do mean a lot. And guys, to a woman, those little things really mean a lot. I mean, when my husband passes by and it may just be a squeeze on my shoulder, that's something special for me. Or just that quick glance of holding your hand, that look in your eye, those things mean more than, to me, a dozen roses. Yeah. Because that's a special moment between us. And that's that connection, as you were talking about, between us that, okay, we have that and we understand that look, that touch. Yeah. And it's very important to have. And I think people just tend to forget about it. Or as you said, they're so busy and the drudgery of the day that it just drags them down. But we try to make sure throughout our day, I'll call them or I'll send that text, just checking on you, just to say I love you, or a smiley face. It's just those things that keep us connected and keep us on that same level. So he's not in one place and I'm in the other. And then we get together at the end of the day and we're still trying to get on that same level, which then is hard. Like you said, men are compartmentalized and he's still stuck in work and all that when you're wanting to be connected to him. You want to feel that bond. So you have to work on that. And a lot of people tend to forget, I have to work on this.
Yes.
Your relationship is something you have to work at to keep that passion there, to keep that fire going.
Because we want to be happy in life. We do have choices. Everybody has stuff that is thrown at them on a daily basis, and we can choose what to do with that. We can choose for that to be all encompassing and really be on that downward spiral, or we can choose to deal with it when we need to. But again, we can put all of that aside for small periods during the day, for a little while at the end of the day. And really, that relationship is your safe haven, but we don't always utilize it the way we should. So it's okay to get together and talk about, what little Johnny did at school that we have to deal with, or what bill, needs to be paid and how we're going to pay it briefly, but save some time for special moments together. Save some time to be passionate about life, not just about passionate in the bedroom, but as you said, being passionate about your partner so that you're sending them a message, so that you're touching them when you pass, you're looking at them, you're glancing at them. Those are all the things that couples that have, my term for my book, and it's a term that I just came up with, called unstoppable relationships. That's what they are. It's those relationships that over time, they keep that connection, no matter what's going on in your life. I'm assuming that in 27 years, your life hasn't been perfect.
No.
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 Unless you were living in a bubble somewhere. Yeah. But you've been able to keep that bond with your partner through, like you said, simple, small things. you read the book, but you just didn't. You didn't need to read my book.
Yeah, but it's really important for us. We have 2 kids, and we have to keep that passion. We have to keep that connection. And so, as you said, the cuddling, sometimes just I'll tell people a lot. All the things that I talk about in my book and the different scenarios, that's all fine and good. But like you said, some of the things that lead up to it. Laying in the bed on a Sunday morning and you read the comics together. That's a great thing. You get to relax and laugh, but you're doing it together.
Yes.
And that's a little quiet moment that you two are taking together to just lay there, forget the world outside, forget the job and everything else, and laugh at the comics. What more? This is about the simplest thing you can get. Yeah. It's to laugh at the comics. But then, as you said, it does lead to other things. So with the book, I'm not saying, just go jump into it all the time, but it does give you ideas. And as you and I talked, we can branch on some of the topics that are in there. So you don't necessarily have to do that particular thing, but think about it. You can still do something similar to that and make it fun for you and your partner.
You can. All right. So tell me some of the reaction you got. I know that you only have your first name on the book, which I completely understand. But from some of the people that knew you or that know you and know you wrote the book, what's the funniest reaction you've gotten?
Well, the funniest reaction was my family. When they first heard it and read it, they're like, oh, so I know that story is you. They were trying to figure out from my friends which stories belong to which person. And so that was really interesting. Everybody trying to guess. But then I've had a lot of people who are of that older mindset saying, oh, that's nasty. Oh, you wrote that nasty book. But it's not, because it is sex. And everybody in this day and age, I don't say everybody, but most people are having that. Yeah. So it's just about having a healthy sexual relationship. So I've had interesting comments from people. I've had guys who have come up to me and said, do you think my girl will like this? Do you think she'll try it? And I don't know your guy, I don't know your girl, but if you put it to her in the right way, I'm pretty sure she'd be willing to try it, because again, she wants to make you happy. You want to make her happy. So people have enjoyed it.
Good. Tell people where they can find the book.
They can find it through my publishing company, which is Ex Libris, or Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com.
Okay. We have to talk about how you got it on Barnes & Noble. I don't have mine on there. We'll have to talk about that after the show. So we don't want you to think this is not something that is nasty. It's about women who are confident women exploring their sexuality. It's real stories about women, and it was written, I'm putting words in your mouth now, so tell me if I'm wrong, but it was written to help show women that they can be confident in themselves. They can feel good about themselves. They can take an active role in their sexuality. They can take an active role in their sexuality with their husbands. Mm-hmm. They can add more spice to their life. What did I miss?
You didn't miss anything. You said that perfectly. I mean, you did it better than I could.
We have a few more minutes, so tell us, because, we want the readers to go buy the book. So you gave us a little bit of a scenario in the first story. Pick another story and just set it up for us.
Okay. Oh, another one which I've had great comments about is called The Peeping Tom. And it is about one of the ladies and her boyfriend, where they are in her office. It's a high-rise office, and they are doing it while having sex in front of the window. But there is a guy in the building across the way that is watching them. I'm
thinking New York City, yeah.
So that's where you get the title Peeping Tom. He's watching them. He's enjoying watching them. And in the end, he puts up a sign asking could he join them. So they get off on him watching, and he's getting off watching them. So it's an interesting concept. And again, it's adventurous. Mm-hmm. And not necessarily saying people have to try that in their office that way, but
their office might be an option.
That is an option. Or even your office in your home is an option.
Yes. Yes.
As you said, trying different places in your home sometimes makes a difference.
Yes. Something to add that spark back. Make sure that if you have children, there's a lock on the door. The kitchen's probably out if you have children around the house.
Yes.
There's no closed door with a lock on your kitchen, but you can send them to grandparents. One more. Give us one more.
Let's see. Another one is the maintenance man. It's not necessarily the guy that comes and fixes your plumbing or anything like that, but it is about the maintenance guy who is more about coming to please this lady. And they're really involved. It's her significant other, but it just takes you through different different scenarios with them on things that they do in her home, how they meet up often during the day. So as you said, you don't necessarily have to always have sex at night. Sometimes first thing in the morning before work is always a good way to get your day started. And then also, as we mentioned, at lunchtime is another idea for people. So in this story, you'll see where her and the maintenance man are having sex at different times throughout the day, but it's a very active story.
I like that because I think it also gives couples the idea, because this is a couple, it also gives couples the idea that maybe they could try on some different roles and do some role playing. There are people who really think that that's fun to dress up or to pretend they're somebody else. I remember watching Modern Family. Do you remember when Phil and what's Phil's wife's name? Claire. And once a year, I think on their anniversary or something, they would go to the hotel and he would pretend he was a businessman and she would come in and she would be somebody else, and then they would stay that night in the hotel room. And they had some funny skits, I think more than once on Modern Family about that. But so that is bringing that to my mind. That,
yes, that people can use this as a way to do some role playing.
Yeah.
It gives them some ideas on how to do that. And as you said, people do try role playing to help spice up their relationship. So this gives you some good scenarios. And good ideas on places where you can try it. Again, it's not about jumping completely out of your comfort zone,
right?
But just stepping a little bit out of it where you're still comfortable, but you're willing to take that little step and say, okay, I can try this and see how this works for us. Or
even if all you use it for, ladies, is to go run a hot bath after, while your husband's putting the kids to bed for you, maybe. If you look at him and say, I'm taking a hot bath, put the kids to bed, I'll meet you in the bedroom, I bet he's going to put the kids to bed for you, if you say it in the right way. And so even, in that nice, warm, relaxing hot bath, you've got this book and you read some of it just to kind of relax and help you tap into that central part of yourself.
Yes.
So that when you get back together at the end of the day, you're feeling like you're in the mood to have sex. Even if that would be all that you did with it, that would be great for you. It would be great for your relationship.
Yes. But now keep in mind, though, it's not just for the married couples. As you said about the singles, it does help the single woman get those ideas about how to be flirty, and how she's going to feel sexy when she's out there trying to meet a perfect match. You want to go out there and you're nervous. You're scared about being back on the dating scene after who knows how long.
Right.
So you want to feel confident. And this helps women when they're reading this that, okay, it kind of gives you that little press, that little pump up that, okay, I can do this. I can be confident. I can look sexy in that red dress, and I can go out and actually talk to someone and initiate the conversation instead of going out somewhere and waiting on a guy to approach you. These women can use this as a way to help build up their confidence where they can step out to someone. And if they see an attractive man, they can approach him and feel good about it.
I like that. Thank you. I had gotten all off on the couples and sort of forgot about the singles. And again, we're not necessarily suggesting, single ladies, that you go out and do something that you're uncomfortable with. We're not suggesting you go out and meet a stranger and have sex with them. We're not saying that you can't, but we're not suggesting that that's what you do. I like your idea of reading it just to get more confident about dressing nice and learning how to flirt. I have clients, sometimes women, who are quieter and they're shy and they're having a hard time meeting a guy, and I will ask them to pick a TV show where there's a female character that is just a little bit more assertive than they are, and to watch that show to learn how to flirt and to learn how to just step things up a little bit in trying to attract someone. And so, yeah, this book could also be used at that. You could read it just to sort of make yourself feel more confident and think, if these women could go to that extent, that might be way outside of my comfort zone, but look what they had the confidence to do. Well, you're right. Maybe I could look my best, put on that dress that makes me feel really good, join my girlfriends, go to a meetup group, wherever it is, go someplace and actually talk to some men that are there. Yeah. And flirt a little and let them know that I might be interested in them. And if they're not interested, that's okay, but I'm practicing, I'm getting out there, and eventually I will meet somebody. Or if they have a date coming up, then that might help them to just sort of get into that mode of...
Yeah, to get them in the mood to, feeling confident, to be feminine and sexy. And like you said, you want to make sure that dress is right, the hair, the makeup. So you're feeling really good that you can go out and just walk up to a gentleman and talk to him and not feel so scared to say anything, and you're just being a wallflower.
Right. Because yes, we do want the man to be attracted to more than just the way we look, and we want it to be more than a sexual attraction, because that attraction is only on the surface. But we do need to catch their attention. We can't get over the fact that men are visual. And so that first initial interaction, they need to have some attraction. They need to be a little spark. There needs to be a little interest so that they will get to know you and get to know what's underneath. And all of that is an all-in-one package. So it's okay for that to be a part of that package. Oh, yeah. I've done some shows too we've talked a little bit about that feminine energy and our loss of that and how that has created some issues, because men are not attracted to, as I have said numerous times, and I'm sure I'll say again, they're not attracted to another guy in a dress. They're attracted to that feminine energy that's inside of us. And if we're going out on dates being very in that masculine energy, that we're the boss at work kind of energy, then we're not attracting the guys. So they're not getting close enough to us to then get to know us, to learn to love us. And so we could use the book for that as well. Okay. We've got all kinds of things. Tell us one more time the name of it.
The name of the book is Society of Secret Pleasures by Yevette. And it can be found at Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, and through the publishing company, Ex Libris.
And then through there's a website, I know, once they get the book, and they can... Is there a website?
Not at the moment. It's not a website,
an email.
But there is an email, and they can also connect with me on Facebook. So if anyone is interested in talking to me or giving me some of their adventures, because I am in the process of working on book 2.
How did I know that was going to be the case?
Which there's going to be a twist to book 2 that I think people will be very interested in.
Okay. So they can, on Facebook, how would they find you on Facebook?
It is under Yevette.
Okay.
So, yes.
And spell that.
Yevette.
Okay.
Twice.
Okay. So once you get the book, or even before you get the book, on Facebook, you can connect with Yvette. You can send her a private message through there. You can tell her your stories. You can ask her questions. You can read the book, enjoy the book, share it with your partner, share it with your girlfriends. Oh, I have a good idea. I'm going to sell your book for you, see? How about you get a group of your friends together? You read the book, and then you meet someplace over wine, over dinner, and you start sharing whatever you're comfortable sharing. But, we might get another Society of Secret Pleasures going. We could get a Society of Secret Pleasures going all over.
Well, that would be great.
Wouldn't that be great? We could start
nice.
A whole movement of women just sort of encouraging each other, giving each other ideas, feeling comfortable about themselves, really finding ways to be competent women, but still soft and feminine and in touch with that, in touch with their sexuality, and enjoying sex. We don't want women to be bored with their sex lives or feel like they can't. So that's how we're leaving it. Listeners, I hope that you've enjoyed today's show. I hope that this information was a blessing to you. Hopefully we gave you an idea or two that you can take and apply it to your life to make it better. Remember that I am always here to help you. You can contact me on my website, Be sure to join me next Monday as well at 6 p.m. on iVibe Radio. This is Lori Davis. You're listening to Real Talk on iVibe Radio. Have a marvelous evening, and I'll talk to you next Monday.
The views expressed on Real Talk aren't the views of iVibe Radio or any of its advertisers.